everyone. A very good evening and a very warm welcome to today's session. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fine and amazingly well. Namaskar, Sat Sri Akal, bonjour, आदाब, बहुत स्वागत है आपका आज के सेशन में. With me, Ankana, your expert for social sciences at Imbibe. And let's get started with our another very one chapter which confuses us, perplexes us, of history which is making of a global world. तो करने वाले वो मैच शुरू and we'll talk about globalization in the pre-modern world. तो बच्चे प्री मॉडर्न वर्ल्ड की ग्लोबलाइजेशन कैसे हुई, क्या हुई, उससे शुरू करेंगे. मुझसे आप मिल ही चुके हो. मेरा नाम अंकना है. आई हैव बीन टीचिंग एंड बीन एसोसिएटेड विद द एजुकेशन सेक्टर फॉर मोर देन 9 years नाउ. एंड हाय साक्षी, हाय मुस्कान. I'm absolutely fine. How are you? Hi Sanskriti, hi Abhimanyu. Hello everyone. Hi Dorami, good evening and very warm welcome. Guys, please make sure to let your friends know that I'm live and that I'm starting a new chapter ताकि वो miss ना कर दे. While I have you people over here, मैं ये information वैसे तो end में भी repeat करने वाली हूँ, but I'm also letting you know that there's a Karnataka Bandh announced tomorrow, because of which the session which was scheduled for tomorrow is going to be postponed to day after. तो अब जो है कल सेशन नहीं होने वाला है, कल का सेशन हम परसों करेंगे. ठीक है, चलिए तो इसी बात पे करते हैं शुरू हमारा सेशन. आई स्पेशलाइज इन सोशल साइंस, आई ऑल्सो स्पेशलाइज इन इंग्लिश बाय द वे. तो मैंने सोचा वो थोड़ा सा बता दो अपना इंट्रो. ठीक है, चलिए. ओके, सो व्हाट आर द टॉपिक्स दैट विल बी कवरिंग. तो बच्चे इस चैप्टर में हम देखते हैं ग्लोबलाइजेशन इन द प्री मॉडर्न वर्ल्ड. विल लुक एट द शेपिंग ऑफ द वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमी दैट हैपेंड इन द 19th century, इंटर-वॉर इकोनॉमी एंड रीबिल्डिंग अ वर्ल्ड्स इकोनॉमी आफ्टर द सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर. फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर, सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर दोनों के बाद कैसे इकोनॉमी बिल्ड हुई, कैसे हम वापस, बिकॉज विद द वर्ल्ड वॉर द इकोनॉमी वाज रियली डिस्ट्रप्टेड. बहुत जीता जागता एग्जाम्पल, द वॉर ऑफ यूक्रेन एंड रशिया, हाउ इट हैज अफेक्टेड द एंटायर मार्केट एंड इकोनॉमी ऑफ द एंटायर वर्ल्ड व्हेन ओनली 2 countries आर ऑन वॉर. इमेजिन व्हेन द एंटायर वर्ल्ड वाज ऑन वॉर, हाउ इट वुड हैव चेंज्ड एवरीथिंग. कैसे हम उससे बाहर निकल के आए, हाउ डिड वी रिवाइव, ऑल ऑफ दैट विल टॉक अबाउट इन दिस चैप्टर. Today's topic in specific is globalization in the pre-modern world, जिनमें सब टॉपिक्स हम pre-modern world में कैसे हुई, सिल्क रूट क्या था pre-modern world का, what was the silk route, what it looked like, what importance did it play, food, how has food been important. अब आपको लगेगा यार हिस्ट्री में फूड के बारे में क्यों बात करें, बिकॉज इट प्लेज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल इन द कल्चर विच इज डेफिनेटली अ पार्ट दैट वी कवर इन हिस्ट्री, आर्ट, कल्चर, सोसाइटी, पॉलिटिक्स, इकोनॉमी, एवरीथिंग. So we'll talk about food also. Then we'll move on to the conquest, diseases and trade that happened in the pre-modern world. तो चलो शुरू करते हैं. Have you ever wondered how different goods from far away places of the world find their way to our local market? Like when we go to the market, when we step in the market, a lot of times you'll hear people saying कि अरे ये तो इटली से आया हुआ है, this is from Greece, this is from Europe, this is from US, this is from Vietnam. How is this happening? So चलो अभी के लिए तो this is modern day globalized world. It doesn't seem very abnormal with the connectivity with internet, the kind of communication we have, air travel, water transportation की navigation इतनी strong है. There's so many things that does help us connect and that finds our way to different places of the world irrespective of the distance, है ना. दुनिया चाहे कितनी बड़ी क्यों ना हो, कितनी वास्ट क्यों ना हो, कैसे हमने एक दूसरे के साथ अपना अपना रास्ता ढूंढ लिया. वी फाउंड वेज टू ईच अदर एंड दैट्स हाउ वी आर कनेक्टेड. बट दिस इज अगेन द मॉडर्न वर्ल्ड. द टेक्नोलॉजी हैज इवॉल्व्ड लाइक एनीथिंग. बट द क्वेश्चन इज दैट इफ यू थिंक अबाउट 300 years बैक, 500 years बैक, 600 years बैक, what used to happen back then? अभी तो चलो 21वीं सदी, 22वीं सदी में हम पहुंच गए. तब जब हम ये कह रहे हैं तो समझ आता है 21वीं सदी एक्चुअली 21वीं सदी में हम पहुंच चुके हैं. बट व्हेन आई टॉक अबाउट 13th century, है ना, आज से 13th century की बात कर रही हूँ मैं, पहले 800 साल पहले, 8 centuries back. How did people used to find their ways out? Was trading happening then also? Were people connected then also? Was exchange of culture and various things happening then also? That is what we are going to understand here. And if it was, how was it happening? If it was not, how did we come to a place where we got so connected with each other? ये पूरी journey आज हम करने वाले हैं cover. So let's talk about globalization in the pre-modern world. अब यहाँ पे 2 word है जो हमारे पास बहुत important है समझने के लिए. सबसे पहले आता है pre-modern world. For us to understand this concept, it is very important for us to have a clarity on what does the pre-modern world mean. Right, Simran? Hi, welcome to the session. Very good evening. तो मुझे एक बार आप अपने से गेस लेकर के बताओ, व्हाट डू यू थिंक प्री मॉडर्न वर्ल्ड मेंट, विदाउट लुकिंग इट अप एनीवेयर एल्स यू गाइस। कहीं ढूंढना नहीं है, कुछ पता नहीं करना है, गेस लेना है, जस्ट गेस लेना है। राधे राधे बच्चे, जस्ट टेक अ गेस दैट व्हाट डज प्री मॉडर्न वर्ल्ड एग्जैक्टली मीन, विच एरा आर वी टॉकिंग अबाउट। इससे पहले कि हम इस टाइम के बारे में बात करना शुरू करें, बिफोर वी विल स्टार्ट डिस्कसिंग अबाउट दीज थिंग्स, वी शुड एटलीस्ट हैव अ क्लैरिटी विच इज द टाइम पीरियड वी आर रेफरिंग टू, वो तो पता चले। हाँ जी, pre-modern world. Also guys, please let your friends know that I'm live so that they do not miss on the session. Before modernization, संस्कृति, yeah. But then how do you identify कि modernization कब हुई और उसके पहले का टाइम क्या था? Before the modern age. तो नाम से समझ आ रहा है that pre-modern world is before modern, right? बट वॉट डू यू मीन बाय मॉडर्न एज देन? मॉडर्न एज का मतलब फिर क्या होता है? ये कंफ्यूजन हमारे दिमाग में रह जाती है। तो चलो इसको क्लैरिफाई कर देते हैं। मॉडर्न वर्ल्ड बेसिकली रेफर्स टू बच्चे व्हेन द इंट्रो ऑफ टेक स्टार्टेड हैपनिंग इन आवर वर्ल्ड। इंट्रो ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी, टेक्नोलॉजी लाइक मशीन्स, टेक्नोलॉजी लाइक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन, ठीक है, स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक हो गई, कोई बात नहीं। ये सारी चीजें जब हमारे साथ इंट्रोड्यूस होने लग गई, विच वॉज मोस्टली हैपनिंग अराउंड 17th to 18th सेंचुरी, लगभग इस टाइम पे हो रहा था। फ्रेंच रिवोल्यूशन होने लग गया, गवर्नमेंट में चेंजेस आने लग गई, द टाइप ऑफ गवर्नेंस वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट। मोनार्की चलती थी पहले हर जगह, मोनार्की से शिफ्ट होकर के वी स्टार्टेड नोटिसिंग इमर्जेंस ऑफ नेशन स्टेट्स, पीपल टॉकिंग अबाउट डेमोक्रेसी, पीपल टॉकिंग अबाउट रिपब्लिक, राइट? People, the change, the way they're living, they enhance the culture. After people recognized the need of development in the society and economy. Okay, correct. मतलब of course the need was there, people were recognizing it with time, but हमें अगर segregate करना है for our understanding, तो how will we do it? So industrial revolution is a big mark, French revolution is a big mark. These revolutions is what marks the beginning of the modern world. If you remember, even in French Revolution, we have seen that before French Revolution, we used to call it old regime. So, majorly pre-modern world is definitely before the modern world, during the time where so many machines, technology, transportations were not so evolved. It mostly refers to your 12th to like 17th, 18th century. इसको रेफर करता है, ठीक है? So, this is your pre-modern world, where things were happening in different way. The world was not so connected. Globalization was not at its peak with the help of technology. ये ट्रेडिंग ज़्यादा अक्रॉस सीज एकदम नेसेसरली नहीं हुआ करती थी, इतनी होती थी लेकिन फिर भी। ओके, दिस इज व्हाट वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड। वी वुड नॉर्मली हैव अ परसेप्शन कि अच्छा इतना डेवलपमेंट नहीं था, इतना सब कुछ नहीं था, तो प्रॉबली ट्रेडिंग डिड नॉट यूज टू हैपन अक्रॉस बॉर्डर्स, बट इवन देन इट यूज टू हैपन, एंड इंडिया वॉज इन फैक्ट अ वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट ऑफ इट, विच विल डिस्कस लेटर इन द सेशन टुडे इटसेल्फ. So the making of global world has been a very, very long history, my dear students. Trade, migration of people. People, why were they migrating? So when we are saying globalization, what does it mean? Globalization means interconnection, right? What does it mean? Interconnection. People getting integrated. Integration hona. The world coming together. So globalization is something that existed back then as well. तब भी exist करता था. The world was still coming together. People were getting connected. People were integrating. Just not as often and as easily as today, but it was still happening. So making of global world, which means a globalized world. A globalized or a connected world. ये तब भी exist किया करता था. ठीक है? Why did people used to travel? People would travel for trading, which means people were still doing businesses. People were migrating. Migration means what? Moving around. Moving from one place to another. ठीक है, वाई वर दे मूविंग अराउंड, इफ दिस इज द क्वेश्चन कि भैया क्या जरूरत पड़ गई, तो जब टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं है इतनी मुश्किल से क्यों इतनी जद्दोजहद करके जा रहे थे, राइट? हाय अतुल, वेलकम टू द सेशन। मैम क्या टोपोग्राफी सिमरन टोपोग्राफी जो है आईसीएसई का सिलेबस है, बस बच्चे यहाँ पे आई वोंट टीच बिकॉज सीबीएसई में नहीं है। मैंने टोपोग्राफी का एक्चुअली मेरा एक सेशन आपको यूट्यूब पे मिल जाएगा पुराना, अगर आप सर्च करोगे, ठीक है? इट्स नॉट द सेम बिकॉज इट्स नॉट देयर ओनली एज सच। ओके, सो व्हाई वर पीपल मूविंग? पीपल वर मूविंग फॉर वर्क, ठीक है, फॉर मूवमेंट ऑफ कैपिटल विच मीन्स इन सर्च ऑफ मनी, पैसों की जरूरत से, जैसे वी हैव सीन, राइट? हाय मोहम्मद साहिल, वेलकम टू द सेशन। इतने पुराने बच्चे हो आप मेरे, वेलकम। सो like in today's date, what do we see? People from villages move to towns in search of jobs, in search of money, to make money. So with such ideas, or people from one country move to the other country. So this is a movement that was happening back at that time as well. People were moving even then. Okay. So the term globalization is something that has been popularized by Theodore Levitt. He was a professor in Harvard Business School. So what does globalization mean? एक ऐसा process जहाँ पे दुनिया ज़्यादा connected होते जाती है. It gets more integrated, more closer. The distance starts seizing down. It starts coming together, closer. ये रिजल्ट है मैसिव एक्सपैंडिंग ट्रेड का, कल्चरल इंटरैक्शन का अमंग डिफरेंट पीपल ऑफ डिफरेंट कंट्रीज. So that is exactly what globalization means, and that used to happen back in pre-modern world as well, but it has increased tremendously and extremely and exponentially in the modern world. Modern world में बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ चुका है. So globalization एक economic system है that has emerged in the last 5 years or so extensively. I just want to add something over here. Extensively अभी बढ़ा है. पहले क्या था? Used to exist in pre-modern world as well. Just not at the same scale. पहले भी एग्जिस्ट करता था बट सेम स्केल पे एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता था, छोटे स्केल पे एग्जिस्ट करता था. सो वी हैव सीन दैट इन द पास्ट हाफ सेंचुरी, 50 years, very extensively it has expanded. Why do you think that has happened? That has happened because of the technology. Access to resources and डेवलपमेंट. ठीक है, टेक्नोलॉजी बढ़ गई है, रिसोर्सेज पे हमारा एक्सेस बढ़ गया है, और जो डेवलपमेंट होती गई है उसकी वजह से. Now, as I was telling you that we were connected as long as as back as 3000 BCE as well. How do we know? इंडस वैली सिविलाइजेशन जो है आज के डेट के वेस्ट एशिया से तब भी कनेक्टेड थी. सो वी वर वेरी वेल कनेक्टेड बैक एट दैट टाइम ऑल्सो. ऐसा है कि हम उस वक्त भी बहुत कनेक्टेड थे, वी वर स्टिल देयर. बट हाउ डू वी नो दैट? द क्वेश्चन इज हाउ डू वी नो दिस? व्हाट इज द एविडेंस? एविडेंस के बिना आप कैसे बिलीव करोगे? सो वी हैव द एविडेंस which proves this. We have seen that from ancient times people have traveled vast distances. For what purposes? They have traveled in search of knowledge, in search of opportunity, spiritual fulfillment. जैसे कि अगर आप बुद्धिज्म और जैनिज्म की कहानी देखते हो तो शुरू इंडिया में होती है, लेकिन और ज़्यादा ईस्टर्न साउथ ईस्ट एशिया की तरफ स्प्रेड करते जाती है. ठीक है, तो स्पिरिचुअल आपकी अवेकनिंग के लिए, स्पिरिचुअल फुलफिलमेंट के लिए, या फिर कई बार टू एस्केप परसिक्यूशन एज एन पनिशमेंट. सो इफ आई नो दैट आई हैव डन समथिंग रॉन्ग और आई हैव बीन टेकन एज अ डिसेंटर. डिसेंटर क्या होता है बताऊंगी मैं आपको थोड़ी देर में. इफ आई एम समबडी हु डजंट एक्सेप्ट what is existing beliefs and system in the society and I want to disagree with it, I may be thrown out from my country because my government will not agree, my king will not agree. right, Sanskriti? Yes, evidence is needed, right? So in order to avoid the punishment, or in order to avoid execution, or in general if I'm banished, for all of these reasons people used to continuously travel from one place to the other. So the question is, as early as the 3000 BC, Dash linked the Indus Valley civilization with present day West Asia. तो वो क्या मीडियम्स थे जो पहले भी इंडस वैली सिविलाइजेशन को वेस्ट एशिया से कनेक्ट करते थे, विच इज लाइक मिडल ईस्ट ऑफ मॉडर्न वर्ल्ड? व्हाट डू यू थिंक, द ट्रेड और द रोड्स? What are those factors which we can see linked the Indus Valley civilization with the present day West Asia? Okay, we have started receiving answers. कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, just take an attempt. Just now we discussed it. Even if you're not sure, just go ahead, punch something as an answer. We'll learn what is the correct answer and why. So Abhimanyu, Muskan, Sakshi, Sanskriti have already answered. Wonderful. Waiting for Atul, Rajesh and Nagaraj to answer. Guys, 3000 BC में Indus Valley was connected with present day Asia because of trade. ठीक है, ट्रेडिंग तब भी होती थी. ओके, संस्कृति, जेरूसलम बेसिकली आपने पढ़ा हुआ है, ठीक है, इज़राइल वहाँ से ही है, लेकिन उसकी बहुत ज़्यादा कहानी है अलग अलग रिलीजियस तरीके से भी. सो बट मेजरली देयर. सो पीपल वर कनेक्टेड. We know that travelers, traders, priests, pilgrims means people who travel for religious fulfillment. They travel long distances for knowledge, opportunity, spiritual fulfillment. Now, whenever you travel, what happens? आप आज की डेट में भी देख लो. If you travel to a new place, if you travel to a new country, if you travel to a new place, ठीक है, आप जब नई जगह जाओगे, people eat something over there. People wear a specific kind of cloth there. You'll really like it and you'll be like, hey, I'll take this back home. When you bring it back home, you'll show it to your friends, or maybe they'll see it and they'll like it very much and they'll be like, hey, I also want it. Yeah, I also want to try it. And maybe they'll find it online or go there and try it again. Or maybe you've learned a new recipe, or you've learned something new in the form of cuisine and the food that you had over there. You'll come back and replicate it. So what did you do? You learned something, you saw the culture, you came back, you started practicing the same thing or using the same thing. People around you will like it, will start learning it. So आप आज की डेट में भी, even in today's date, we are doing it. But earlier it was even more because hardly people were connected, very less awareness was there, access to knowledge was very limited. With internet, with strong communication lines, telephone lines, it's very easy for us to know things in today's date, right? But back at that time, it was not. तो लोग जब जाते थे, when people would go to one place, they would learn so many things over there. जैसे पंचतंत्र की कहानी, concept of zero, mathematic principles. How did these things happen? It was discovered in some other part of the world, but then traveled the entire world. How? When somebody would go there, they would learn about it, come back to their place, tell people around them. And then similarly, when somebody else would travel from here to some other place, they would propagate the knowledge from this place to another place. ऐसा करके ऐसा होता था कि A point पे discovery हुई, somebody from there took it to point B, somebody who's visiting point B will take it to point C. ऐसा करके it would just propagate everywhere, and different places would slowly and steadily get linked. Human societies will get linked, and the strengths and the connection will become stronger and stronger. Trade was one very important connection, right? Because if there was something that people were aware of, but trade भी कैसे शुरू हुआ? I am aware that this is something that I don't have here in this part of the world, but it is grown or found in some other part of the world. We need it here, so we'll do business. So I'll trade with some other parts. But again, exchange of knowledge has happened, only then the trading has also started. And with the trade, further more exchange will happen because a lot of traveling will happen, a lot of exchange of culture, money, everything will happen. So that is how the whole thing started. तो अब यहाँ पे बात करते हैं कि in today's date, एयर ट्रैवल इज देयर, वाटर नेविगेशन इज देयर, ट्रांसपोर्ट सिस्टम भी बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग है, यहाँ से लेकर थाईलैंड तक रोड बना दिया, ठीक है, इंडिया से, तो ये सब हो गया है. सो विथ ऑल ऑफ दैट, हाय रागिनी, हाँ जी, अब से रोज सेशन होंगे. कल नहीं होगा बस क्योंकि कल जो है कर्नाटका बंद है, तो स्टूडियो में मैं नहीं आ पाऊंगी. but every day at 8 p.m. we will definitely have session for class 10th. Maybe few days here and there as an exception, but 8 बजे social का session हो रहा है. Schedule change होगा तो मैं आपको बताऊंगी. हमारा Telegram channel भी guys, please make sure to stay connected so that you're aware that when and where the sessions are happening. So as I was telling you that पहले भी दुनिया connected थी, but these transportation systems and internet and this accessibility did not used to exist. So how were people traveling? It did not matter even if the sea routes were not developed, even if the air technology was not developed, people were still traveling with the means of land. Land used to play a very important role. People would walk, maybe carry their wagons, have transportations pulled by animals. Somehow they figured out to travel from one place to another. It would however take a long time. ठीक है? हाँ मुस्कान, मैं बैंगलोर से लेती हूँ. बैंगलोर में ऑफिस है हमारा. That's where I come and teach you from. So even when all of these sea routes and all of these things were not developed, people used to travel with the means of land and extensively. काफी ज्यादा travel किया करते थे. ठीक है? Ragini, I was not well, बच्चे. That's why I was on a leave, but I am back now, so I'll be taking sessions regularly. So one of the very prominent and important routes guys that was created was the Silk Route. ठीक है, तो एक बहुत important route इसमें आता है हमारा Silk Route. Silk Route is something that you might have already heard about. So it was a very, very vibrant pre-modern trade rasta. So in today's date also you'll find a lot of places which is very important. For example, Europe has become a very important trade center. ठीक है, या फिर manufacturing के लिए we know Bangladesh, India, China, these are very important centers. Back at that time it was not divided. ठीक है, ये मल्टीनेशनल कंपनीज एग्जिस्ट नहीं करती थी, सो डिविजन ऑफ थिंग्स वर नॉट डन. एक ही जगह मैन्युफैक्चर होता था, वहां से सीधा ट्रेड होता था. तो फॉर द ट्रेडिंग पर्पस दिस रूट वाज really important. So it was a very vibrant pre-modern trade and cultural link between distant parts of the world. Why is it called Silk Route? ये समझना बहुत जरूरी है. और कहाँ से कहाँ जाता था. So बच्चे, it used to link Asia with Europe and North Africa. So this is the Asian portion, if you can see, right? This Asian portion was connected to Europe and to North Africa. So this entire thing used to happen with Silk Route. Silk Route was not just restricted to land, but also sea, as you can see from here. Sea wala not so much in the beginning, but as we started developing and figuring it out, it also developed through the land. Okay? So over land and by sea, people were connected with regions of Asia. Why were everything connected with Asia? Asia में बच्चे India and China, these were two countries which were very, very rich in different production of various things like spices, textile, Chinese pottery. ठीक है, और यहाँ पे सारा production used to happen. So it was like a production hub. So China and Asia was like production hub. So people would buy a lot of things from here and trade it back to Europe and Africa. ठीक है, अमेरिका का नाम क्यों नहीं ले रहे हम? Why are we not taking the name of America till here? Because America has still not been found. It is in their isolation. Okay. So existence predates that Christian era and thrived until the 15th century. So it existed right from the BCs, the before Christian era, the Christian era, and in fact till 15th century the Silk Route was very, very important. Why was it important and why is it called Silk Route? So primarily bache, this route was used to trade with silk that mainly China and India also in some extent used to produce, and the cargoes of silk used to transport. That was the idea of building of this route primarily from this route, and that is why it is known as the Silk Route. तो उसके साथ साथ apart from this, the pottery, textile and spices were also traded. These were the hubs of production and trade also. That is why China and India were also very rich at that time. They were the center of trade. ये याद रखना, center of trade थे back at that time. So when we say that India was like a golden bird, एक सोने की चिड़िया की तरह थी India, तो how was it like सोने की चिड़िया? कहाँ से आता था ये सारा सोना? Where did all the money, economy and gold come from? Why did the Britishers get attracted to India so much? Because they were very, very predominantly trading in the pre-modern world and earning a lot of wealth. बहुत पैसा था इंडिया और चाइना के पास इस वक्त, which used to attract a lot of other countries. Okay? Absolutely, Simran. I would love that. Okay. Hi, Devansh. How are you? Okay. So, apart from this, a lot of precious metals, as you can see, were also dealt with. ठीक है, gold, silver, सब यूरोप से, मतलब एशिया से. So, what used to happen was goods would go from Asia to Europe. ठीक है, एशिया से यूरोप क्या होता था? Goods जाते था. Goods would go from Europe to Asia, and in exchange, gold and silver was brought back to Asia. So, when you're trading, money will flow in. Money back at that time was the gold and silver, the precious metals only. So, Asia would send goods, Europe would send all of this money, the gold and the silver, and that is how India and China kept on growing. Trade and cultural exchange were intertwined. They were related with the trading. A lot of other exchanges also used to happen naturally. Trading was happening, but people were also learning a lot of new things about each other. Traditionally, eating habits में जैसे भी करके, ठीक है? So early Christian missionaries and Muslim preachers also traveled through the Silk Route. So as we have already seen that the priests, the monks, the pilgrims, people for spiritual awakening and learning, fulfillment also traveled. Buddhism जैसे Eastern India से जन्म लेता है, but spreads through the intersecting points of Silk Route. So you'll mostly see that wherever the Silk Route is, that's primarily where Buddhism spread over in this area. How? Because that was the route that primarily people operated in, and because of the trading, when people came to India, learned about Buddhism, took that idea of religion to these parts using the Silk Route. Okay? So trade and culture exchange always go hand in hand. Is this true or is this false? Very simple question, so let's not take a lot of time to answer this. Trade or cultural exchange hand in hand जाता है. It goes together. Is this true or is this false? So just now we saw the relevance of Silk Route. We saw other stuff as well. What do you think? Waiting for everyone to answer. Very less number of students have answered till now. Okay, guys. अभिमन्यु संस्कृति, परफेक्ट टाइमिंग, करेक्ट आंसर, गुड जॉब. साक्षी ने भी अटेम्प्ट लिया है. मुस्कान, राजेश, सिमरन एंड नागराज, आई वुड रियली अप्रिशिएट इफ यू गाइज आंसर. Okay, and it is true, right? All the exchanges happen and go hand in hand together. True है, करेक्ट देवांश. ठीक है, नहीं बच्चे, क्लास 12 के लिए कोई चैनल नहीं है. साइंस और मैथ्स के लिए है एक्चुअली, सोशल साइंस के लिए नहीं है. ठीक है, तो ये सारी चीज़ें एक्सचेंज होती थी, रिलीजन एक्सचेंज होता था. वी हैव अंडरस्टूड दैट. सो व्हाट वी हैव अंडरस्टूड इज a lot of exchanges used to happen. If you're talking about the evidences, तो एविडेंसेस में हमारे पास हमने देखा है कि काउरीज, ठीक है, काउरीज विच इज सी शेल. सी शेल की अगर बात करो, काउरीज की बात करो, तो ये प्राइमरीली ना मॉलडीव्स, सी वाले एरिया में, कोस्टल एरियाज इज वेयर यू विल फाइंड दिस. सो काउरीज भी इनको कहते थे. दे वर यूज्ड एज करेंसीज इन मॉलडीव्स. ठीक है, बट इनका प्रेजेंस हमने चाइना और भी अलग कंट्रीज में देखा है, where exactly they're not found, which means that some exchange used to happen for these currencies in form of trading, which means these places were connected. या फिर Mesopotamian stamps होते थे. These stamps have been found in Indus Valley civilization, which means some connection has been there. People have traveled back at that time as well. Okay, कोई बात नहीं. Okay, so food, so that is what trading and traveling has done. इन सारी चीज़ों से मिल मिला करके हमने क्या देखा, इन सारी चीज़ों से मिल मिला के lot of exchanges happen. Next very important thing is food. Food is a very very strong evidence which shows that something that was eaten in a particular place has been adopted in a different place as well, which shows that how these places have been interconnected. For example, आपका अगर बात की जाए spaghetti and noodles का, so it is said that noodles which was a part of China or Eastern Asia traveled to Italy to become spaghetti. ऐसा भी कहा जाता है कि हो सकता है, there is a possibility that the Arab traders who were in fact trading in these areas took it to Sicily, which is an island in Italy, and then noodles became spaghetti. It was not spaghetti earlier. Similar kind of foods were found in India and Japan as well, but we are not very sure कि कहाँ से आया. इतना clear evidence has not been existing that we can put our finger and say कि हाँ, it really originated in this place and then spread around. But mota if you look at, okay, overall, in a broader perspective, if you look at these, you will see that a lot of these foods are very similar in texture, in taste, or in the way they are, the way it is cooked, but have been given different names and have slight different style of making in different areas. But it clearly shows that it was an example of long distance cultural exchange. पहले से exchange होता गया and based on the culture थोड़ा evolve होता गया. Some slight changes, some slight element of their own culture was put into something which was brought from other country. Okay. Sanskriti अच्छा है ना, you're learning and getting prepped for such questions. So traders and travelers would go to different places, they would get introduced to new crops and they would introduce new crops as well. For example, when you travel, you carry something to eat on your way. Especially back at that time, people used to carry grains and everything to keep on eating on their way because hotels and all of these things did not used to exist. Travel used to be really long, so you had to be prepped up. So for all of these reasons, what would happen when as a trader or as a traveler, I would arrive in a new place, I would be carrying something from my city, from my area, from my culture. So that I will introduce to the new place I have gone to. They will learn about it. Similarly, they will also make me learn what they eat. I will learn that and I will come back to my place and teach my people. So you see how clearly the exchange is happening. We have understood that how it was taken from one place to another, which possibly could have been India to China, India and Japan as well. But we're not very sure, but we know that exchange has been happening. A very strong example of this is also that just 300 to 400 years back, ठीक है, 300-500 साल पहले, 3-4 centuries back, our forefathers, our ancestors, which means even your family members would have had no idea what a potato is. Imagine life without French fries, you guys, without potato wedges, without aloo ka paratha, without vada pav, how difficult it would have been, right? But there is a high possibility that 3-4 centuries pehle, hamare parivar wale, hamare ancestors, hamare desh wale, our country people, our ancestors were not even aware about what potato is, what tomato is, what corn is, because these were things that were not originally indigenously grown in India, or in fact different parts of the world, a lot of other parts of the world. These were few things which in fact used to grow in America, and America was not even discovered till then. So till America was discovered, these foods were not known to the entire world for that matter. पूरी दुनिया को इसकी खबर नहीं थी. So a lot of common foods were like potato, soya, groundnut, maize, tomatoes, chilies, sweet potatoes. It is said that these were even not known to our ancestors even like 300-400 years back, because America was not discovered. So let's thank Christopher Columbus for discovering America. And with the discovery of America, we got awareness and exposure to the existence of these food items which used to grow in America. And as that happened, as people started reaching America, they started learning about these things and growing it back at their places, back at their areas and their countries and their regions. And in fact, so much so that they became really dependent on it. For example, potato was something which was very easy to grow. बहुत आसान था grow करना, very easy to have, could be consumed in various ways and was very affordable. सस्ता crop था. So a lot of poor peasants, farmers, and a lot of other people would grow potato and in fact be completely dependent on them for their own consumption, for trading, for everything. That is why it once happened that in Ireland, a famine struck in mid 1840s, where what do you say? Infection spread in the harvest and all the potato harvest was wasted. ब्लाइट नाम का आप पता करके देखना, ठीक है, ब्लाइट नाम का एक वो था वायरस बैक्टीरिया जो भी, वो फैल गया था, डिस्ट्रॉयड ऑल द हार्वेस्ट, so much so that everybody died of, मतलब not died, but everybody suffered from starvation and a lot of people even lost their life. That was the amount of dependency people had started having on these new productions that we had learned from America. Not just that, Europe at this point used to be very poor. ठीक है, यूरोप की कहानी इन जनरल ऐसा है कि पॉपुलेशन वाज इंक्रीजिंग, वी हैव सीन द पॉपुलेशन वाज constantly on increase. Europe did not have a lot of money at that time. They did not have a lot of production houses or generation of money and jobs and employment. So people in general were more poorer. Because they were poor, they needed something like introduction of potatoes to improve their diet and lifespan, especially of the poor section. Because at that time even refrigerators and all were not found. So meat and all were also not traded, and originally Europe में it was not found so much, it was not read so much. Once we invented refrigeration का concept, fridge का concept, and that got introduced to the ships, a lot of meat and mutton started getting traded from America to Europe, and that's how improved the pricing of the available meat and the diet of the people. But otherwise it was the potato that did the job back at that time. So the question is, the food item noodles traveled west from dash to become spaghetti. Mexico or China? Which country are we talking about? Noodles कहाँ से निकल करके गया spaghetti बनने के लिए? And we have Abhimanyu, Sanskriti, Sakshi. Good job. You guys have answered correctly. Muskan and Nagraj waiting for you. But it was China. China se originate hua tha. Similar food were found in India and Japan as well. However, we are saying that either Arab traders took it or maybe just by traveling people took it there. Now, another very remarkable thing which shows exchange. See, what all of these things that we are discussing is telling us what? That the world was connected. So, food ka travel shows world was connected. The Silk Route and the trading that happened shows us the world was connected. The propagation of religion from one place to another shows the world was connected. The knowledges which were in fact found in a particular country, in a particular region, which eventually spread around and became popular in the entire world, shows the world was well connected, even in the pre-modern world. Similarly, one another thing is the presence of the diseases. अब आप कहोगे मैम ये क्या बात हुई? पर बच्चे कोविड का एग्जाम्पल लेकर के देखो. हाउ डू वी नो दैट द वर्ल्ड इन टुडेज डे इज रियली कनेक्टेड? बिकॉज इट स्टार्टेड इन वुहान, went to somebody from there went to Italy, एक जना, one person from there took it there, from people Italy, then people from Italy went within Italy and around and took it to different parts of the world, and within 2-3 months entire world was under the attack of the COVID-19 virus. This shows that how globalized we are, how interconnected we are in today's date. Now, this stands as an evidence of that. Similarly, back at that time, the spread of diseases were also a mark that, yes, the world was connected. Or the way conquests were happening, how people from one area would get to know that this area has all of these resources and is very powerful. If we capture it, we'll have more money. So people would travel to that place to conquest it, to conquer it. Trading would happen. So all of these things is the next topic that we are going to understand. So we see that European sailors in the 16th century found the sea routes to Asia and America. Asia se pehle bhi connection tha, trading and all, everything was happening. America was not really discovered. Once it got, people found ways to travel. लंबे लंबे रास्ते छोटे हो गए. The routes which were otherwise really long started decreasing, started shrinking because people were getting more connected. So how people were more distant in pre-modern world started shrinking because more areas were connecting, very well integrated. The Indian Ocean was a hub of bustling trade with goods, people, knowledge, customs crossing its waters. So Indian Ocean became a very, very important place, important region जहाँ बहुत trading होती थी. From Asia, Europe would connect. From Asia, Africa would connect. From Asia, America could also connect through the means of water, right? The Indian subcontinent played a very central role in these Indian trade networks. European entry into the Indian Ocean expanded or redirected some of the trade flows to Europe also. So this point, however, comes later in your book, but I'm going to explain this to you now. What happens is that during the pre-modern world, like 13th century, 14th century, 15th century, India and China were the center of trade, you guys, okay? Okay, Shushmita, please do. Hi and welcome to this session. So, Indian subcontinent जो है, subcontinent we are talking about, जो present Pakistan, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Nepal, ये सारा region जो है जब आप ले लेते हो, this entire portion, China, these places were the hubs of these places were the hubs of the hub of trading. That is why they had like a lot of money. So this place was like the center of trade. लेकिन क्या होगा अभी, the picture will change. ठीक है, पूरी जो सिनेरियो है वो चेंज हो जाएगी. कैसे चेंज हो जाएगी? सो अमेरिका जब डिस्कवर होता है, यूरोपियंस स्टार्ट कॉन्करिंग द एरियाज, डिफरेंट एरियाज एंड टेकिंग इट अंडर कंट्रोल. And America was an undiscovered land, hence had a lot of resources that people were not aware of existing. So now Europeans will start getting their hands on there. उसी के साथ साथ हमने फ्रेंच रिवोल्यूशन में पढ़ा है कि कैसे स्लेव ट्रेड होता था, एंड दीज प्लेसेस वर कॉन्स्टेंटली प्रोड्यूसिंग अ लॉट ऑफ कैश क्रॉप्स, शुगर, इंडिगो, टी, कॉफ़ी. तो ऐसे करके बहुत सारा प्रोडक्शन इन सारी ट्रेडिंग नेटवर्क्स की वजह से बनेगा. और देन शिफ्ट जो है वो ईस्टर्न से वेस्टवर्ड हो जाएगी. थोड़ी सी वेस्टवर्ड कहने का मतलब है towards Europe, and that is how with more money coming in, Europe will start becoming more powerful. Britain, France, Germany, these countries will start growing more and more. Okay, so America इतने सालों तक जब डिस्कवर नहीं हुआ था, ठीक है, तो इंडिया में सबसे बड़ा आपका ट्रेड वो बैठा हुआ था. अब अमेरिका डिस्कवर नहीं हुआ है, दिस एंटायर रीजन हैज नो आइडिया समथिंग एग्जिस्ट्स ओवर हियर, एंड देन क्रिस्टोफर कोलंबस गोज एंड फाइंड्स अमेरिका. Now, the moment it gets discovered, it had been isolated for millions of years before. But from 16th century, it becomes a land which had a lot of crops and minerals and gems and what not. Basically, सोने की खान थी वो. It was like a mine of gold. So, people now get to know about it, and they knew that how it will transform their lives. अब मान लो तुम्हें पता चले खजाना मिल गया, you found a treasure. You would want to go and get something out of it because it will change your life. It will make you rich. The same way Europe and different countries of the different parts of the world started behaving the moment they learnt about America and how much it had to give. So from there, precious metals, खास करके silver from Peru, Mexico, which was enriched in general, helped Europe and financed its trade with Asia. तो ये सारी चीज़ें धीरे धीरे करके क्या हो जाती हैं, ग्रो करने लगती हैं. किसकी मदद से? अमेरिका की मदद से. अमेरिका इज नाउ गोइंग टू हेल्प ऑल ऑफ दीज कंट्रीज टू इवॉल्व एंड ग्रो विथ ऑल दैट इट हैड टू ऑफर. नाउ द पीपल ओवर हियर वर मोस्टली ट्राइबल्स, यू गाइस, ठीक है, जिनको हम रेड इंडियंस, अमेरिकन इंडियंस के नाम से भी जानते हैं. The word Indian should not confuse you. It is not related to India. It's just the name given to the tribes over there. Now, these tribes were not educated. They were also staying in isolation. They were also not aware about other people's existence. So, they in general were not so developed, did not have access to arms and ammunitions and weapons and warfare. इन सब चीज़ों का उनको कोई लेना देना नहीं था. बेचारे चुपचाप खेती बाड़ी करते थे, अपने रिसोर्सेज को यूज़ करते थे और अपनी ज़िंदगी चलाते थे. Now, when the access to all of these things does happen with the discovery of America, एक लेजेंड स्प्रेड हो जाता है, एक कहानी स्प्रेड हो जाती है एल्डोराडो की. एल्डोराडो, अगर आपने KGF देखा है, इफ यू हैव सीन KGF, यू वुड हैव हर्ड एल्डोराडो, व्हिच मींस लिटरली सिटी ऑफ गोल्ड. So legend spreads in the 16th century that, oh my God, America has El Dorado. There's a place El Dorado in America. एक city ही है gold की, एक सोने का शहर है. Literally, what it meant and how it started was that it was like a mine of gold because it had so many resources. But one mouth to mouth ऐसा spread होता गया कि अरे नहीं यार सोने का शहर ही है. The moment people heard something like that, they wanted to find it and they would have needed the help of local people. So everybody, चाहे पोर्तुगल की बात कर लो, जर्मनी की बात कर लो, स्पेन की बात कर लो, मतलब पूरा का पूरा यूरोप उठ करके यार they started moving to America to find this place so that they could get really, really rich. So in this time, this fable spreads. Everyone from Europe now starts looking for the gold reserves. With this revelation, a lot of expeditions happened. And we see that as a result, millions of Native Americans were enslaved and forced to dig riches for the Europeans. So because I was telling you that the Native Americans were not aware about it, उनको इन सब चीज़ों के बारे में नहीं पता था. They were not even prepared about these things. बट अब क्या है कि वो बेचारे चुपचाप सीधे साधे से लोग थे. यूरोपियंस ने अपने आर्म्स के, अपने स्ट्रेंथ की मदद से उनके ऊपर कब्जा करके अपना हक जमाना शुरू कर दिया. स्लेव बना करके उनको जमीनें खुदवाने लगे कि फाइंड दिस लैंड ऑफ गोल्ड, फाइंड दिस सिटी ऑफ गोल्ड फॉर मी. So Portuguese and Spanish conquests and colonization of America started in mid 16th century. Now normally if you want to take control of anything, how do you do it? You do it with the help of weapons, arms. आप वैसे अपना strength exert करते हो. But the thing is that arms, guns, they can always be bought and turned back against you. For example, you come, I have some people staying with me, you buy them, you tell them, I will give you 10,000 rupees, you kill her, kill me, okay. The moment I hear about this, I have more money, I tell them, hey, they're paying you 10,000 rupees, I'll pay you 15,000 rupees, you kill them. So people can be turned against towards any party with the help of money, with the help of arms, with the help of ammunitions, correct? Hi friends. One thing that they can never turn against is a biological weapon. What is it? Biological. Sorry. ठीक है. तो अब यहाँ पे क्या चल रहा है? What they do is they start having a biological war. ठीक है, मतलब एक biological weapon use करते हैं. और अब ये नया वॉर चलेगा. They are going to use a different, they are going to play a different game only. The Spanish specially. See, these people were isolated. They had not been exposed to the world. They had built no immunity to the diseases, the bacteria and the viruses that existed otherwise. COVID jab aaya, happened same with us. But now we have developed herd immunity and every kind of immunity. People with vaccination, people without vaccination also. So now we can still fight these things. It will not affect us the way it did in the beginning. But these people of America were not exposed to these things. They had zero immunity. What they used is, they used the most powerful weapon of the germs called the smallpox. They took smallpox and spread it everywhere over there. And only they had the cure. They knew how to deal with it. It made the local American people, the American Indians, really, really weak. And at the end, the power went to the European powers. The power, I mean, like, went in their hands, the European invaders. And these people succumbed. The original inhabitants who had no immunity and they could not, keep up with this thing that was happening. So it proved to be deadly killer, spreading in deep into the continents even before the European arrived, already made them very, very weak. अब वो पहले से कमजोर है, कोई लड़ने को, कोई खड़ा होने को नहीं है. तो यूरोपियंस पावरफुल होकर आते हैं so that they can easily seize control of all the resources over there. So we know that it ended communities. ठीक है, यूरोपियन और इसकी वजह से यूरोपियंस आराम से कॉन्कर कर पाते हैं, अमेरिका को अपने कंट्रोल में ले पाते हैं. ठीक है, चलिए इसी के साथ नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन कर लेते हैं. अमेरिका's original inhabitants had no immunity against what? Smallpox, cholera, typhoid or plague. What was the problem? What was the disease that they had no immunity against? That was used as a bioweapon by these people to create the biohazard. And the correct answer is smallpox, right? So we have Abhimanyu Rajesh Nagaraj, good timing, correct answer, wonderful. मुस्कान प्रिंस संस्कृति ने भी सही जवाब दिया है, थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा टाइम लिया है, कोई टेंशन नहीं है. So smallpox is what was used as a weapon by the Europeans to take control of America. तो ऐसा करके अब अमेरिका पे कंट्रोल वो लेने लग जाएंगे. So now guys, as I was telling you that until 19th century, okay, pretty much 18th 19th century तक हमने देखा हुआ है. We have seen French Revolution, we have seen Russian Revolution, we have read about Nazism, we have read about the Great Depression, we have looked at so many things which clearly shows us that Europe was not as powerful till 18th century, somewhat 19th century also. In the 1800s, in the 1700s, they were poor, population was increasing, poverty was pertaining, famine, shortage of food, all of these things were very, very common. Okay, people in general in Europe were not happy. They were constantly running away from Europe because sometimes there were no jobs. Sometimes the rule was very, very strict. Sometimes they were dissenters. जैसे मैंने आपको बोला, dissenter is somebody who does not agree with the existing beliefs and the system that is there. So if they would not agree, they would be punished, they would not be accepted, they would have to run away. So for all of these reasons, a lot of population from Europe, for jobs, for money, just to dissent, to have a better place, started migrating and moving to America, which right from the beginning was kind of seen as a land of freedom. Okay? 18th century में, जैसे मैंने आपको बताया, China and India were in fact one of the richest countries, but in 15th century, China all of a sudden decides that it will not have any overseas contacts. It will have nothing to do with it. They'll keep their stuff, they will not trade. तो चाइना आइसोलेशन में चला जाता है. चाइना के रिड्यूसिंग इसके साथ साथ इंडिया थोड़े टाइम तक संभालता है सब कुछ. इंडिया टेक्स केयर ऑफ एवरीथिंग. बट एज अमेरिका गेट्स डिस्कवर्ड, ठीक है, यूरोप को बहुत पावर मिल जाता है, बहुत मनी जनरेशन होने लग जाती है यहाँ पे. एंड स्लोली स्लोली व्हाट डू यू से द ट्रेड सेंटर स्टार्ट्स मूविंग फ्रॉम इंडिया एंड चाइना टूवर्ड्स वेस्टवर्ड्स. पूरा अमेरिका को भी नहीं जाता है बिकॉज अमेरिका एट दिस टाइम इज नॉट पावरफुल. इट्स मोस्टली कोलोनाइज्ड, राइट? इट्स मोस्टली टेकन ओवर बाय यूरोपियन पावर्स. सो धीरे धीरे जो सेंटर ऑफ ट्रेड है, सेंटर ऑफ मनी है, सेंटर ऑफ वर्ल्ड है पावर का, वो मूव कर जाता है इंडिया चाइना यानी कि एशिया की तरफ से टूवर्ड्स यूरोप. And then Europe emerges as the center of world trade at this point. So that is how Europe grew. And that is why we say that before this, India and China were very much in power. Now we're talking about 16th century, right? 16th century is like 1500s में, 1600s में. And 1600s में जब Europe powerful हो जाता है, that's when it starts colonizing other countries also, including India. India में भी वो लोग आ जाते हैं. Towards the end of the 17th century, they're already here. So the mighty continent of America was conquered and colonized through a disease spread by germs, which we know smallpox. It is today considered one of the greatest epidemics in the history of humankind, where the number of dead people ranges from 5 million to over 100 million. So you can imagine the hazard it had created, right? Now, through the Native Americans met unprecedented tragedy, though quite the opposite occurred in Europe. तो अमेरिका का जो फेट था, यूरोप को उसका बहुत फ़ायदा मिला. It definitely came out from a dark to a brighter spot. So in the next session, we'll see that how America's curse became Europe's great boost towards becoming an absolute power back at that time. Okay? हाँ जी मुस्कान, हो गया, आज का ख़त्म है. तो जल्दी से समराइज कर लेते हैं. ग्लोबलाइजेशन क्या है, प्री मॉडर्न वर्ल्ड क्या है? द वन बिफोर इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन, डेवलपमेंट ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी प्राइमरली बिटवीन 13th to 15th century, 12th to 16th century टाइप वाला. ग्लोबलाइजेशन इज द प्रोसेस where the globe became more interconnected with massive trade and cultural interaction. Okay? Yes, Sanskriti, it was. Then food as a part of globalization stands as a very strong evidence that people were interconnected back in the pre-modern world as well. Common foods like potatoes, soya, groundnut, maize, tomatoes, chilies, sweet potatoes were only introduced to Europe and Asia after Christopher Columbus discovered America. Before discovery of America, we were not aware of the existence of these crops. we did not used to grow it. It definitely helped the lives, improving the lives of the Europeans especially. सिल्क रूट प्री मॉडर्न वर्ल्ड में भी एग्जिस्ट करता था, जब यानी कि मतलब देयर वाज वेज थ्रू विच पीपल यूज्ड टू ट्रेड एंड वर कनेक्टेड. देयर वर सेवरल सिल्क रूट्स, लैंड से भी, सी से भी, विच कनेक्टेड वास्ट एरियाज ऑफ एशिया फॉर द ट्रेडिंग पर्पसेस with Europe and North America. Conquest, disease and trade, maybe we saw that precious metals and from Peru, Mexico, after discovery of America, was taken to Europe, and which enhanced the trade in Europe compared to Asia. And the Spanish conquerors used germs of smallpox in the conquests of America, which acted as a weapon for them to create the biological war. Now guys, we're going to do the next part of this chapter day after tomorrow at 8 p.m. again. So please make sure to log on to the app or the website. The sessions are absolutely free, as you know. Just register yourself and we'll together finish this up, right? Hi Siddharth. अब मैं welcome नहीं बोल सकती क्योंकि session खत्म होने वाला है. And do not forget to explore the Imbibe blends. And as I said, tomorrow the session is not happening, which might be showing on the schedule because it's बंद है कल. ठीक है, तो कल बंदी की वजह से वी आर नॉट डूइंग दिस सेशन. प्लीज मेक श्योर दैट यू आर कनेक्टेड विद अस ऑन द टेलीग्राम चैनल सो दैट फॉर सच अनाउंसमेंट्स, अपडेट्स एंड एनीथिंग आई कैन डायरेक्टली रीच आउट टू यू ओवर हियर एंड यू आर आल्सो अवेयर ऑफ द स्केड्यूल एंड ऑल द अपडेट्स दैट्स हैपनिंग. So with that, I'm going to say bye-bye to everyone. Yes, Siddharth, I have. Have a great evening, you guys. Good night. I will see you after day after tomorrow. So till then, stay connected. If you like the video, do not forget to like, share, subscribe and share with your friends. Anything else you want me to do, any other new topic you want me to pick, do tell me in the comment section. I'll see you soon. Till the next time, stay connected and keep imbibing.
Keep imbibing. We believe in you.